But I'm getting a lot of questions. A lot of people want to know what's going on as far as what's happening in the trike business and that kind of stuff. And I got a bunch of people on the list for this winter already. I think I have 3 confirmed, and I think I got like 5 or 6 emails of people that want to get on the list. So be a busy winter. Probably start up here, like I said, in October or so, and start building them again. So I did have one guy by the name of Larry. Don't know what his last name is, doesn't matter. But he had some really good questions, and I thought, maybe we should do a video on some of his ideas, concerns, whatever. He's been looking at the forward wheel trikes like I build, and he's been looking at the back wheel or backward trikes, and comparing them. He's got a leaning trike right now, which he says is okay, but it doesn't solve any issues. And this is what I've said all along about the leaning trikes are basically just a motorcycle with an extra wheel. There's no benefit. You think just because they have 3 wheels that somehow it's more stable, but it's not. It's exactly the same as a regular motorcycle, except the steering is slower and a little more awkward, and it's an extra $15,000. So he's got that pretty well figured out, and he wants to go with something that's more stable and a little bit better fit. So some of the questions he had were really good. First of all, he wanted to know, because I'll be 71 in October, and who's going to take over when I decide to either quit building trikes or fall off the perch or whatever happens. So that was a legitimate question, and the answer is, I'm not sure. I've kind of been, looking for somebody to take over, but, it's hard. It's hard to find somebody that wants to work and wants to get the thing done and wants to continue. A younger person could take this business and really expand it. But at 71, I'm obviously not going to, and I'm actually cutting back where I'm just working winters now. So I don't really have any definite plans on that one. It really shouldn't make any difference, because the next thing here kind of falls into the category about maintenance. Who's going to take care of maintenance and stuff. And I've said this all along, when you look at this thing, it's all welded steel, but the parts that would require maintenance are brake calipers, which are Chevy S10 calipers, the brake shoes, which are the Chevy S10 brake shoes, ball joints, which are a Delphi low friction ball joint, which are lubricated for life. These are designed to last in excess of, I'd say 150 to 200,000 miles on a car. So they're going to last forever on this thing. Shock absorbers are standard motorcycle shocks. I've been using, these are a Showa or Showa shock, which comes off a Harley-Davidson Dyna rear. But I've been using the progressive model of these, which are basically identical shocks. These are Showa and those are progressive, but I can't tell the difference. But that's a standard shock. I mean, everything here is standard. There is no specialty items or anything. And there's no maintenance. There's no grease fittings or anything on. There's one grease fitting on the anti-sway. There's 65 pumps of grease in this bar right here, which basically prevents water intrusion. That should never need to be lubricated again. There's no maintenance. So that really should not be a concern. There's really, the way I design these things and build these things, the only thing you're going to end up doing maintenance on is flushing the brake system once in a while, maybe every couple of years, which is really a 5-minute job. It's really easy because this already has a backflow valve in it. That's about it. And the tires should go 40,000 miles. In fact, I just checked, I have this exact same tire on my Goldwing. I've got about 16,000 miles on them, and they look exactly like these, and they still have the little nubs. So the wearability is really good. I've got a complete parts list on my website under the maintenance category, and under maintenance I've got videos for how to bleed the brakes and do different adjustments, replace the wink lights, which I will not be doing anymore. I'm not putting wink lights in any bikes anymore. I'm just having too much trouble with them The failure rates in the last year have been about 50%. Prior to that, it's maybe one in 50. Now it's every other one fails. And I'm having a real hard time getting good, reliable parts for those lights. So I'm not going to do them anymore. Let's see what else we got. Oh, here's the other thing too. Now on the backward trikes, you know, you've got the running gear, you've got a drive axle, you've got a drive shaft, and I guess some of those have had issues with the drive shaft. You know, I don't know what exactly goes wrong with them, but I've read different things where they have minor issues with drive shafts and that stuff. And there's some specialty modifications on the rear trike, so that's probably more of a maintenance concern than this would be. There's really nothing here that can't be repaired by the average person. Even the alignment, I mean, I've got videos on how to do the alignment, and it's a slam dunk. You can do alignment on this or on a Can-Am Spyder yourself, and here again, it's a 10-minute job, so I wouldn't really be concerned about any of that stuff. One-to-one steering came up. This other company, okay, so first of all, let's get this straight. I basically invented this process. I was the first one to market. I'm the only one who has a patent on this entire thing. Other companies have a patent on IFS, which is independent front suspension, which is kind of silly because it's the only way it can be done. So you're getting a patent on something that can't be done any other way. Seems kind of dumb. But mine are independent front suspension anyway, so I don't even know how they got a patent on it, but that's not a concern. So anyway, there's only one other company that's really doing these half-heartedly. They build the backward trikes, and that's their bread and butter, and they're doing the front wheel trikes, I guess just to say that they can do it. I'm the only one who puts the third radiator in. Otherwise, I guarantee you, the other ones overheat. They're going to overheat. There's just no way around it. Mine don't, and they never will because I put the third radiator in there. And, you know, I've come a long way with this thing and done a lot of what I would consider groundbreaking when it comes to some of the little oddities that you have to deal with when you're doing this type of a trike. But it came up about steering, and that this other unit steers really hard at low speeds. Well, they do a thing called one-to-one steering. And when I first got into this, you know, one of the many things that you experiment with is do you go one-to-one steering? What I mean by that is I measure from where the tie rod connects to here and this axle, I've got 5 1/4 inches. So if I make this arm here on the steering column 5 1/4 inches, that would be one-to-one steering. And what that means is if you turn the handlebars 10 degrees, the wheels turn 10 degrees. So they're exactly in line. I learned right away that doesn't work. In fact, it works very poorly. Steering would be extremely hard. You'd be able to turn sharper, so you could, and I think that's the whole thing, because the back wheel trike, they can turn very sharp. So that's one advantage they have with this, and like the Can-Am Spyder. In fact, the Spyder guy said you don't make a U-turn, you make a Y-turn, because you have to make it pull around, back up, and then pull around, because they can't make a complete U-turn from curb to curb. I can just barely do it. I engineer mine so that the turning circle is 22 feet. And so I've got about a 40% reduction in the steering. So if you turn the steering wheel 15 degrees, the wheels turn 10. Kind of, or approximate. So it eases the stress of steering at low speeds. It also makes them less jumpy because anything you move on the handlebars is going to relate to a lot of movement on the wheels, where this reduces that. I could go less than that, which on this bike, I'm actually going to redo this one and go with a 50% reduction because it has narrow handlebars and it's a light bike. So I kind of want to slow it down a little bit. The other thing is I'm running the narrowest tire I can run on a 15-inch rim. They're running 16-inch rims with a low profile wide tire, which has numerous things wrong with it. Your scrub radius is going to be all over the map. They're going to steer really hard. I don't know what they're running for air pressure in them, but I'm guessing they're running more than they should, and they're going to get a lot of wheel bounce. And you know, there's just a lot of things that can go wrong by using the tires and setting the tires up incorrectly. The worst thing is running too much pressure in them. I'm running, in this particular bike, I'm running 12 pounds of pressure in these tires. On the normal bikes I run, like the Goldwings, I run 15 to 16, that's it. Any more than that, you're going to get a lot of poor handling, you're going to get poor tire wear. You know, you don't have that much weight on the wheels. So you don't run the 35 pounds or whatever it says on the sidewall. What it says on the sidewall is 35 pounds at the maximum weight these tires can handle, which I believe is 1,800 pounds. Well, there's only about 260 pounds of weight on these tires. You shouldn't be running that kind of pressure. So anyway, that translates into a lot of really poor handling, is the one-to-one steering. I saw that in their advertisements, and I thought, boy, that was a really bad move. So that kind of covers a lot of his questions. The other question he had was, how come I'm running 61 inches on width and the backward trikes are like 54 and 56? I think part of that is they designed them to compact the rear a little bit so that it's, because being wide in the back, one thing you notice with those trikes, especially with people that are new to them, is when they go around the corner, they'll clip stuff at the back of the bike. Where with mine, that's not going to happen because you can visually see the front wheels. Now, Hannigan runs the exact same width on their bikes on the back wheel trike, so it's not that uncommon to have a wider stance. It does make them more stable, and it just happened to be the width that I came up with when I designed this, and it just is a coincidence that Can-Am and mine are exactly the same width. They also have the same wheelbase forward to back, so you know, really it's just a distance that worked out, and it's very logical because you get a nice wide footprint, which is better for stability. So anyway, that kind of addresses most of his questions and most of the questions that people ask me. When I'm on the road, people ask me things like, you know, how do you like it? Does it lean? That's the number one thing, does it lean? And so then I have to explain to them why a leaning trike makes no sense. Anyway, so, you know, those are kind of the questions I get on the road. A lot of people just want to know, you know, who builds them, so I always tell them I do, which is the name of that company actually is I Do Endeavor, is the corporate name, doing business as Endeavor Trikes. And the name came up because people would ask me, you know, who builds it, who designed it, and I tell them I do, so that's where the I do came from. And endeavor, the word endeavor means to go forward or forward, which fits. So that's where that all came from. So anyway, that's just to answer some of the questions I get. You know, as people send me questions, I answer them, and I try to be as honest as possible. And like I say, I don't really badmouth other companies. I'm certainly not going to mention them by name, but I will, you know, address issues that I think they're not addressing, that they could do things better, I guess. I just kind of hate to see people buy stuff because I know with one particular brand, people have told me they had to get rid of it because it overheats, even in town. That they said you can't drive anywhere because the thing overheats, and I can see why. Not only does it not have the third radiator, but the box they put on the front covers the inlet to the radiators. You know, if you have a Goldwing, especially a pre-2006, they do. You should know they do overheat. Especially if you're in the mountains with the tailwind of about 15 to 20 miles an hour, and you're in traffic that makes you go to the point slow enough where your fans kick out, or I should say fast enough, like around 16 miles an hour, they'll overheat. I've had it where my 01 never got warm until I got in the mountains, and then that thing would start to cook. So that's why I actually put in the third radiator, and never had a problem. I mean, it's been hot, cold, doesn't matter, wind at our back. I've never had the needle even go to the halfway point. So it does work, and honest to God, my cost of not counting my labor, it's about $100 in parts. Well worth it. So anyway, that's just something to address the questions people ask. Hopefully that answers some questions you may have in your mind.